Hey, welcome back to day 3. So excited you're here this week. We've been working on making sure that you're actually eating enough during your day, not purposely starving yourself because that will always backfire. I talk to people who have been trying to count calories for 7 years or trying to count Weight Watchers points for 12 years, and they purposely starve themselves. They think, okay, cool, they say to eat 1,400 calories, I'm going to do 1,200 calories, and it backfires. They're like 24 Weight Watchers points, I'm going to do 19 Weight Watchers points, and it always backfires. So we don't want to purposely starve ourselves. It will always backfire. The other thing is we don't want to accidentally starve ourselves, and by that I mean we don't want to neglect self-care during our day. I think this is a big thing for a lot of people. They neglect taking time for lunch. They neglect taking time to eat breakfast, or they neglect taking time to drink water. They think they have to rush through their day and they can't take that time for themselves. And again, it will backfire. If you don't give your body attention, your body is going to get your attention and in a way that you don't like. I like to think about it this. If you're in a fight, you're like, oh, I hate my body. I have to starve myself, or I just can't do this. I'm not going to eat. If you're in a fight, there's a winner and there's a loser. But you need to not be in a fight with your body. You need to be friends with your body. You're going to need your body the rest of your life. Without your body, you don't have a life. And I'm going to give a real life example. My husband right now just had surgery in December, and it's he has to be a friend to his body. He needs his body to heal. He has to do kind things for his body. He can't sit there and be upset with his body. He needs to build that friendship, that relationship with his body, because again, he needs his body to work in order to be able to walk, to be able to go do the things that we want. If you're a mom and you're nursing, right, you need your body. You're growing a human inside. You have to be a friend with your body. Your body is going to support your life. So no more of this. We're starving ourselves. We're in a fight with ourselves. We have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And so when I say things like make sure that you're eating enough, I do kind of revert back to the 5 Ps. It's a really, really simple framework. Making sure that you are taking that time for yourself, put stuff on a plate, making sure that you're eating plants, making sure that you're drinking plenty of water, you're eating plenty of protein, and also, yes, you're having a little bit of processed fun food. You're not restricting and missing out on life. So it's a really simple framework to build meals for yourself. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about the mindset, right? So I always come back to if it was just about the meal plan, you would have already figured this out. There are a million meal plans out there, and if you just think imperfect eating is about the 5 Ps, you're going to fail because it's not just about the meal plan. We have found, and I'm sure you found this week, is that life didn't go perfectly. Maybe you're in an area where your kids were off from school because of a snowstorm, or something happened with your house in the heat, or different things with family, or you forgot to get to the grocery store. There are so many things that are going to happen in life. Life is so stressful. There are so many things that are going to happen with work and with your kids. There's just so many things. It's not just about the meal plan. It's about our mindset about the meal. It's about our relationship with our body. It's about a lot of deeper things. And we try to just manipulate the food. We try to manipulate exercise, but it comes down to some deeper issues that we kind of have to sort out. So today we're going to actually talk about emotional eating, stress eating, nighttime eating, these things that we do after we're supposed to be done eating. And then we find ourselves in the pantry and we're like, shoot, I just ate, an entire packet of cookies. I ruined the meal plan. What am I supposed to do? I go back to when I was a teacher, and I was working on the south side of Chicago, and I had such a hard time in my life. I had, again, over 30 students in my early 20s, didn't know what I was doing in this really stressful environment. Not eating during the workday, not drinking any water, not going to the bathroom, not taking care of myself, miserable the whole time, just miserable. I had just so much anxiety. I had this ball of stress. When I left Chicago Public Schools, I was like, oh, that stress is gone. This is what it's like to breathe. So then I look back and I'm like, wow, you didn't breathe for almost a decade. You had so much anxiety, and it just became the norm. But anyway, so I would be so stressed during my work day. The happiest part of my day was when I was leaving the parking lot and I was just about to hop onto the highway to head north, and there was a McDonald's. There's a McDonald's right there. And I would save single dollar bills, and I would put them in my my console so that I could buy some French fries, some like extra large French fries or whatever it was. And I didn't want it to be on my credit card. Like, I didn't want to have to look and see that, oh shoot, like you spent like this much money on French fries this month. So I always, anytime I got cash, I put it there. So it was like, if I didn't record it, it didn't actually happen. But getting those French fries was the happiest part of my day. And then I would eat it, and they're salty and they're oily and they're hot, and they're just like, this is the happiest part of my day, because I just had a effing shitstorm at work. Eating McDonald's French fries were the happiest part of my day. And we all know what happens when you haven't eaten all day, and now the French fries are the happiest part of your day, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I want more. I want more salt. I want more oil. I want more carbs. I want more sugar, right? And then that's what would happen is I get home and like, give me food. Food is the happiest part of my life. And then we're ordering tacos. We're ordering pizza. We're eating packages of cookie dough. We were frying Oreos. Like, you go to a carnival or like a festival and you get Oreos and they're like fried and they have powdered sugar. There were times that we were making those. Like, we'd have a vat of vegetable oil and making our own battered Oreos. They're delicious. It's just that when you eat them every night and that's all you're eating, you feel disgusting. So I went about trying to change these habits by shaming myself, by telling myself I was fat, by telling myself I needed to cut out carbs. I needed to, do Whole30. It was all about guilt and shame and putting myself down. And honestly, what happened was, all of that guilt and shame. So fine, now I'm not eating to make myself happy. Now I'm like obsessed with dieting, or the addiction switch. And now the thing that I'm doing to relieve stress is scrolling on my phone, constantly looking at stuff, watching millions of hours of TV, right? So the stress was still there. The feeling shitty about life was still there. I just switched the habit to something that wasn't all that helpful. So today, what I want to teach you is another paradigm shift. And that is, instead of, so we all have bad habits. We have things that we do that really aren't the best solutions. But instead of shaming ourselves in order to change those bad habits, the paradigm shift I want you to think about is this: that current habits that we have right now are simply the best solutions that we've been able to come up with so far. So when I'm driving home from from school and I'm stressed out, stopping to get dollar fries from McDonald's was simply the best solution that I had been able to come up with so far to relieve stress. Okay, this is really important because, again, we try to shame ourselves into changing habits, but that doesn't work long term, or we start to just shift into other bad habits. And honestly, it just puts us in a fight with ourselves. We feel gross. We feel terrible. We feel disgusting. There's a winner and there's a loser. We don't feel good. So again, we want to understand that the current habits that we have are simply the best habits, the best solutions we've been able to come up with so far to problems that we're having. So if you're stress eating at the end of the day, we think that the problem is stress eating, and then we like slap ourselves like, don't do that, stop doing that. We put locks on the pantry. We crack open the locks, and now we're sitting there like, oh my gosh, you're doing this again. What's wrong with yourself? So we want to shift it into thinking, thinking of stress eating as the problem, but thinking of stress eating as the solution you've come up with so far. So if stress eating is the solution that you've come up with so far, the real problem is that you're stressed. You're stressed. It feels uncomfortable. We don't enjoy that. We don't like feeling stressed. We don't like feeling anxious. We don't like feeling terrible about life. We don't like that. That's the problem. We're craving relief from that stress. The solution we've come up with so far is eating. Not such a great solution. The best that we've been able to come up with so far. So what we want to do is go back to that video one. What would my ideal future self do? What would my ideal future self do to deal with stress? This is like, I always love when I see some social media posts like, just take a bubble bath. And you're like, F that, I don't want to take a bubble bath. Okay, fine, don't take a bubble bath. But think about personally for yourself. when I'm stressed, what would my ideal future self do? What is the version 2.0 solution to that problem? Is it eating? Is eating a package of cookie dough the ideal solution that you want when you kind of imagine that life? If it's not, that's where we want to look for a different habit, a different solution to that problem. I always go back to, especially if it's the end of the day, when you're stress eating, you're emotional eating, you want something that's low energy, something that doesn't take a lot of effort. Because if you're like, cool, when I'm stressed, it's the end of the day, I'm stressed, I am going to go play volleyball. It's like, well, but are you actually going to get into your car and drive to the volleyball court to play volleyball? Are you always going to be able to do that? Yes, it's a great hobby and it is a great stress relief, but are you always going to be able to do that after you just had an entire day of, running around, putting out fires from 34 kindergartners? Is that what you're always going to be able to do? If not, start with something that's actually really low energy. Maybe we can get to playing volleyball, but pick something that's low energy. Maybe it is, I have some clients that are like, cool, when I'm stressed, I want to go and play piano. I have a client that made that shift. So it was a really simple thing. It doesn't take a whole lot of energy for her to play piano. She actually enjoys it. It's not this uphill battle that she's trying to do. She actually enjoys playing piano. So when she's stressed and she realizes it, she notes it, shoot, I'm stressed out. Version 1.0, they would go into the pantry and eat all the cookie dough. That doesn't feel fun anymore. Version 2.0 goes and plays piano. I have another client who's like, cool, when I'm stressed or when I'm usually nighttime eating, I'm trying to do that to relieve boredom. The version 2.0 wants to be more creative, be more productive. And she's like, cool, I'm going to go back to lettering. So I assume lettering is writing beautiful letters, but yeah, just something more creative, something more fun, or, the adult coloring books. But it's we have to be able to note for ourselves, shoot, I'm doing that thing again. I'm really stressed out right now. I'm trying to eat to relieve that stress. It's the best solution I've been able to come up with so far, but my ideal future self would do this instead. And then we want to do that thing. You're going to mess up. You're going to mess up. That doesn't feel very encouraging right now for me to tell you that, but you're going to mess up because you have been doing eating. Eating has been your solution to stress for the past 5 years, past 10 years, past 20, 30, 40 years, right? That has been your solution for the past 40 something years, right? So you're going to mess up because adult learning is different than kids learning something. Kids have completely blank slates. You tell them something like, oh, adults, we have to unlearn habits and replace them. We are probably going to fall back into old habits, but that doesn't mean that you're a failure. I like to think about it like this, your brain, you've been digging out paths, and those paths are very deep. You've been doing those things for a really long time. Now, when we're replacing the habit with a version 2.0 habit, that is very shallow. That path that you're digging is very shallow, and you're trying to dig that out, and you fall back into the one that's really deep. That doesn't mean you're a failure. That means that's how we change. I was talking to someone that was I wanted to start moving my body every day at the beginning of the morning. She felt like a failure because she wasn't even able to keep up with that. And I was like, well, maybe your expectations of that being perfect shouldn't be so high, but really you should be like, cool, I'm going to ease into this and I'm going to give myself grace and compassion when I fall back into that deep path, because you're digging out this new path. You can look up plasticity. But our brains are plastic. Our brains, we think that, an old dog can't learn new tricks, but it just takes time. It takes a lot of practice. So you've been practicing that old habit of stress eating. It's going to take a lot of practice to practice the version 2.0 relief from that stress. So remember, it is a workshop model. In order to learn these things, you actually have to practice these things. It doesn't just cool, that didn't work for me. No, you have to practice it. Of course, it's not going to work for you until you practice it for a day, for 2 days, you mess up, you pick yourself back up, you practice it again, you practice it again. Practice these things for like a week, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 4 months, a year. Give yourself time. No one wants to hear this. Everyone wants to hear that our relationship with food is solved in 21 days or it's solved in 30 days. No one wants to hear that it's going to take you a year, 2 years, 3 years. I'm not saying that it's going to be messy the whole time, but it's going to take a lot of time to unlearn previous habits, replace them with version 2.0 habits, and get into this place that's automatic, that is just what you do without even thinking. That's your new autopilot. It's going to take some time. How long? I don't know. It really depends on how much you're going to be willing to practice these new things for yourself. And again, it always comes back to what are the things that we're saying in your head. The more aware that you can become of the things that you're saying in your head and like note it, right? We talked about that on day 1, noting those things, becoming more aware, noting those things, and thinking about what does your ideal future self do? What does that person do? Practicing those things. It's going to take time. So again, today I want you to look at your day, the past few days, or look at your week. A lot of people kind of struggle on weekend eating because they're bored. They're bored and they don't know what to do. They don't have any hobbies. And so they're like, cool, eating is my hobby. Eating relieves boredom. Or I think back to anytime we have something happen in a family, right? A death, someone gets sick. What do we do to deal with that stress? We eat. So think about when in your day, when in your week are you stress eating, emotional eating, boredom eating? Start to see your stress eating as a solution to a previous problem. And then think about what does your ideal future self do during those times. Think about version 2.0. Comment below what you learned from today's video, and I would love for you to be able to try this out this week. Get in those practice, get in those reps. That was my word for last year, was reps. Get in the reps. Practice, practice, practice. It takes time. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day. Cannot wait to chat soon. Oh, and a quick heads up. I forgot about this. I will be opening up Imperfect Eating Boot Camp, which is a 3-week program. This is going to open up in February. February 10th is the first day of that. For those of you participating in the 5-day challenge, you're going to get a discount. I'm going to have more information about this later in the week, but just kind of keep that up, heads up on that. So we start February 10th with Imperfect Eating Bootcamp. All right, take care, guys.